Yes, sure, Jyoti ma'am. Please start with the session.
Yes, Neha, please go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. The success of your presentation will be judged not by the knowledge you send, but by what the listener receives. By Lily Walter. A very warm morning to everyone present on board. I am Neha Sinha, student teacher of B.Ed batch 2020-22, welcomes you all on the 12th and last day of personality development program organized by Training and Placement Cell, Army Institute of Education, Greater Noida. It's an honor for me to introduce Sir Mr. Parth Shukla. He is an alumni of Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University and a certified Microsoft trainer. In addition to this, he is also the co-founder and subject matter expert at Knowledge Pro. Sir, you have been a part of our B.Ed journey, so it's a privilege for us to get a chance to interact with you again. Now, I would like to uh, request Dr. Abhilasha Gautam, Principal, Army Institute of Education, to welcome our guest of the day.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you very much. A warm good morning to one and all present here. And I heartily welcome Mr. Parth Shukla yet again on this platform.
Thank you.
And now your introduction is already given by Neha, and you are a very well-known name among our students now. So I hope the session today will be very engaging again, the way it was in the previous meeting and the previous workshop. And the session on persuasive presentation skills. This is indeed the demand of the hour. And you are the best person, I guess, who himself do work on presentation skills and who himself uh, engage the students and inspire the students with his own example. So yeah, you are most welcome, sir. I hope all the students will have a great learning experience today. Thank you. Wish you all a very happy and a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, platform is all yours, sir. Looking forward to your session, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you everyone for such a wonderful welcome and introduction. So let me just share my screen.
So I hope you are able to share the screen.
Yes, is it visible?
Yes, yes, yes. Now it is visible, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite topic, all-time favorite topic to get started with, how you can make wonderful presentation. And on top of it, the more important thing about wonderful presentation is how you can be a persuasive presenter, right? So let's get started with this. Everyone, a simple request to everyone, you don't have to do anything. If you're doing anything, just leave that for next 15 to 20 minutes, right? Now, why I'm saying this? Because for the next 15 to 20 minutes, you just have to listen to me, what I'm, pointing out, what I'm explaining. And after that, we'll have an open question and forum, question and answer forum round, right? So this whole thing I have divided into two parts. first part, deals with how to make a persuasive presentation. And then second part is how you can be a good presenter, right? While presenting these things, how you can use those tools of PowerPoint, which will help you in having better engagement. So these two things I would be, covering in this for the next 120 minutes, right? And the crux of this whole session is how you can leave lasting impression on your audience. Now, since everyone would be going ahead in your respective schools, joining them. So this will be an integral part. And with this online, hybrid mode of learning, the importance of this presentation has been increased. So let's see how we can overcome this simple skill, how we can make it better over a period of time, right? So let's get started with this. Now, today I am using PowerPoint here. Okay. And in second half, and after 10, I'll be using OneNote file so that we can have takeaway for all these things, right? So whenever you talk about persuasive presentation, right, where you want to pursue your information, most of the time we think that information is directly proportional to making a good presentation, right? So it's like if someone asks you to present your thoughts on, let's take an example, on biology, on physics, on physical education, importance of physical education. So what is the first thing that comes to our mind? We'll go to Google, we'll put all the information and we'll put inside the slideshow. So this is a general human tendency. We believe that if you cannot convince people, let's confuse them with a lot of information, right? This is a very common thing, and it happens with me also. And this happens when we are presenting for the first time, maybe in front of an audience, where we are not that much comfortable, right? So the rule number one for making your first persuasive presentation is finding the right kind of content. Now, what is this content thing? So let's take an example. Today I'm presenting, this presentation is going on in front of B.Ed students and faculties. So you know what I have done? I have curated content in such a way that it is easy for my audience to understand and correlate. Now, same thing happens when we go to schools. Same thing happens when we are presenting our thoughts and ideas over online medium to principals, deans, and management staff. So we have to modify our content in such a way so that it is not to confuse audience, but to convince them. Right. Now, this can be done with finding right information from right sources, of course, reliable sources. Okay, then curating them. Now when I say curating them, it's like whenever you go for a good dress, you ask that person to make it customized according to your need. So the idea is, rule number one is customizing the content according to the audience, right? We cannot have copy pasted content for students, for faculties, for management. And when we go with that, we ourselves get a feeling that this is the same stuff we are doing over a period of time. Like I personally believe I was conducting lectures for Microsoft Office Excel exam preparation. So after doing it for 2 times, I used to feel like I'm doing the same stuff for almost all those months. So as a presenter, it's our moral responsibility to always come up with something new inside a presentation so that as a presenter, you are also excited, right? And then your content should be engaging, right? It should not be just a paragraph which you are reading in front of an audience and you are expecting that audience will appreciate your presentation skills, or they will be pursued by your presentation skills. So this is the first thing which we need to do for doing the good research and doing the optimum research, right? Now, after this, the next important thing, in fact, the most important thing of a session, which I personally feel, and I wanted to give you as an example, is, before going with the first slide, it is always, appreciable to come up with an agenda, right? Just think about it. I started with a simple introduction and then I went on explaining what is a first point. So my audience is clueless. My audience and people who are listening to me is clueless what exactly I would be covering here. So the number one thing before you come up with a slideshow is discussing the agenda for your session, right? So when I say what is the agenda, it simply consists of all the pointers, and those pointers can be what is persuasive presentation, then why you need that, how to follow it, okay, and then 5 steps to achieve it, right? And of course, after that, we have open forum for question and answers, and we have some closing remarks, right? So what happens when you put an agenda in front of an audience? It's like you give them that this is the timeline for my next 110 minutes, so that people who are, who have no idea what is going on, people who do not know what will happen next, maybe, listening to you patiently, right? So getting an agenda, no matter how young is your audience, okay, no matter how good is your, audience, you have to put up an agenda before in front of them. Now, when you put up an agenda in front of them, it's quite easy for you to come up with what are the further steps, further course of action, right? So in this way, uh, we can help our audience in following what are the pointers which we would be covering and how we would be going ahead with the session. So most important thing in a session is, no matter you are covering only 2 points, you have to show them that these are the 2 pointers, right? Now, let's go to the next part and let's understand. Now, according to very famous philosopher of all time. Anyone who knows which philosopher I'm talking about here? When you talk about ethos, pathos, and logos, what do you think? Which philosopher I'm talking about? If someone has, done any kind of information gathering, anyone who is aware of it, or any idea about this? When I'm talking about credibility, emotions, and logic.
Aristotle.
Yes. So, when we talk about uh, all these things, right? So let's say ethos, pathos, and logos, right? So whenever we are talking about anything, the important thing is it's not that what is this. The important thing is inside any presentation is to maintain uh, a simple two-way communication, right? So when I ask this question, you know, most of you would be thinking, I know that answer. Most of you would be thinking, let's not answer it. And some of them are, I know the answer and I can connect to it. So the most important thing in a presentation is connecting with your audience. You can ask a question, you can discuss something relatable, you can do small mistakes also in order to get the attention of your participant. This should not be done in front of students. This can only be done when a learning environment is going on. This should not be done in the form of, interviews where you are presenting your thoughts, right? Because the ultimate goal of presentation is you have to convince your audience with your pointers, right? It is just like how Indian politicians do when they present their ideas. They crack jokes. They take examples which are relatable. Sometimes they take examples from social media also. And the idea is they want to convince their audience that their way of thought process is worth listening, no matter how much you are convinced, but this is the overall idea. So whenever we are talking about this, we'll talk about what is this ethos, pathos, and logos, okay, and how it is influential. But here, the idea of this is there are 3 ways you can pursue someone, right? By providing them facts, okay, which are credible, by connecting with their emotions. Okay, how you can connect, we'll see in this, session, and by providing them some good logics, right? So this is how you can present with it, right? Now, uh, the second important point after doing this is, let's take an example. Suppose I want to connect, I want to, pursue everyone that presentation skills can be developed over a period of time. Now, how I can do that? One is I can put you facts. Second, I can put some information gathering, right? So, and after this, uh, we have something which is a very common technique in our teaching methodologies. And in our teaching methodology, that is the art of storytelling. Now, when I'm saying storytelling, I'm not convincing everyone to tell them a story which is 40 minutes long. It can be a short story, and that story should be relatable. That story should have some kind of logic, some kind of emotions, some kind of, facts inside it, right? So most of the time it is very easy to frame a story on yourself, because when you frame a story on yourself, people find it relatable, because people's, your participants, your audience can connect that this might happen with that presenter, right? Like I was telling you that when I was presenting these kinds of presentation, I remember I went on doing this editing so that every time when I'm presenting my slides, it is fresh, it is convincing, and I, even as a presenter, I'm not bored, right? So a story can be anything. Okay, it can be an incident from some famous personality. It can be an incident from some, uh, you know, uh, from some situation, from a book, or it can be any relatable content. But storytelling is very important. Now, storytelling does not mean that you have to bore your audience, okay, with a boring story without any logic and crux. It should have a very good, you know uh, takeaway for everyone, right? So this is the third point which should be followed whenever we are planning to have a persuasive, a kind of, where we are pursuing our audience for with the help of a presentation. Now, with the help of presentation, it is quite easy to tell a story. Why? Because you can put a image, and that image itself sometimes is worth millions of words, right? So people will be hooked to that image, what this image is doing. Okay. Or storytelling can be anything related to current scenario, right? It can be on a topic, on a subject, on an incident, anything, right? And when you tell a story to your audience, your audience feels this presenter knows something which can be a funny content. This presenter knows something which is relatable. Let's listen to this presenter, right? So this is a simple point whenever we want to pursue our audience, right? You might have seen lot of people who are debating, and inside their debates they put a short story. And the idea is short stories are much more convincing as compared to just facts, as compared to giving them and promising them something in future, right? So that is very difficult to convince, but that can be done later on in the stage of presentation, right? Now, let's say when we're talking about the third, most important part, is it the third one or the fourth one? What do you think?
Fourth
The
one.
fourth one.
Fourth one, right? So this is how you can keep check of your audience. If they're listening to you, if anybody said this is third one, it means they are not actively listening to you. So I personally feel, things like small things during the presentation, generally it is in the form of question and answers, or it can be a form of, fact, or it can be something where you can ask, instead of asking this, am I audible? Ask a question, because if you are audible, there will be an answer. And if you are not audible, there will not be any an answer, right? So these are simple hacks where you can make your presentation worth appealing so that people cannot ignore it. Right. Now, the next thing is body language. Now, the challenge with body language, especially in an online presentation, is nobody can listen to you. No, nobody can listen to your body, what the body is saying, like how confident you are, right? Whether you are, suited in a professional, attire, or you are sitting in a, as simple as pajama at your home. Nobody knows about this, right? So appropriate body language does not mean that it should be a confident body. Sometimes it means how you are using your vocal cords to put someone, to show someone your confidence, right? Let's take an example. Uh, Joining a meeting, early is shows that you are attentive for that meeting, right? Like you can join a meeting 5 minutes before, you can join a meeting 2 minutes before, but if you join a meeting 5 minutes late, it shows a negative, presentation body language, right? Similarly, if you are, you're not confidently putting up your introduction, or if you are not confidently using your words, if you are using any word repeatedly, it shows that you are not confident enough. So these are small, small pointers, right? Which shows that your body language is not at your best, right? And similarly, the way you modulate your voice. So if I want to put importance to this word, appropriate, I can go long in highlighting this. This is the only way I can put this into importance, especially in an online presentation. So similarly, your voice modulation, your confident selection of words, and the way you are putting your body in front of camera, like you are not shying away, gives a lasting impression on your audience, right? They can be a student, they can be senior management, or it can be anyone. They can be general public guardians also, right? So body language is a very important thing for every presenter, right? Sometimes people appreciate someone's body language so much that they get inspired by the person and his thought process. And that's why whenever you go for a presentation, you dress us, you do dressing up in the best possible manner, right? So to get maximum attention, and then once your attention is there, you have to show up what you have got, right? So in this way, you go with this point, and it's very important. It can be an offline presentation, it can be an online presentation, but the importance remains same, right? Sometimes when you prepare, you show that importance with the content itself, right? So that's the point where we want to highlight how important is the appropriate body language. You cannot be yelling at your audience, showing the confidence. You cannot go with something which is very, very low and dim body language where you are thinking, okay, it's very cold in Delhi, so I cannot be loud. No, you have to make sure that whosoever is listening would be listening, leaving everything at side, right? So that's the idea. Now, let's talk about something which is my favorite. Now, whenever I go with this, I personally like that no matter how good your starting is, you can always finish with the best ending, right? Now, why I'm showing you this image, because whenever in a race, if you correlate this with a race, it's quite easy to get an idea that all people start from the same starting point. It's a matter of time who finishes up first. So who finishes in a strong possible manner. That's the idea when you are presenting it, right? So sometimes we got carried away in our presentation that when it comes to ending, we forget that we have to end our presentation in the best possible manner, right? Because no matter how you started, but you have to end very strong. You should have some points which you want to highlight. You should have some questions if you are having it. You should have some, uh, uh, pointers through which you can engage your audience, because it's a human psychology. Nobody remembers anything, which you have said 15 minutes back, because our mind goes for ride after every 5 minutes, 6 minutes, depending upon the concentration, right? Or depending upon the motivation. That's why whenever you are listening to someone, who is giving you some knowledge, you find it very difficult after 15-20 minutes to relate to it, right? As compared to you're listening to your famous song, or you're listening to a famous celebrity singing and playing some music, you'll find it very easy because of that motivation, because of that interest area. So you have to sound like a celebrity in last round, making sure that everyone is listening to you, right? And you are finishing it strong. So when you follow these, rules, it is somehow very easy for, for for you to pursue someone with your thought process. And when someone is pursued, right, if not 100%, at least 50%, 40%, at least 10%, that this percentage, this thing was right, your work is done, right? You don't have to convince everyone. You don't have to convince everyone with 100% of your content, right? So you cannot, nobody can, right? But you can give it a try in putting up your thought process so that people can selectively point out this was the best part of this presentation. I really like the way this presentation was created. I really like the way this presentation was discussed. I really like the way the presenter was using it words, right? So it can be, there can be something good for someone, right? So that's the idea what you need to think whenever you are giving a presentation, right? And this whole thing can be done on in keeping one thing in mind, and that is your preparation, right? So sometimes we create a slide thinking that, we have been presenting slides for years and I don't need any practice. I don't need any, recap. I can do it in my dreams also. It's not about the practice. It's about coming up with new ideas and new thought process, right? So you might have seen when you create a slide, sometimes it takes hours to curate a slide. Okay, maybe thinking about the font size, maybe thinking about the color combination, maybe finding the right images and everything, right? Because we want to present our ideas in the best possible manner. So always go with a presentation which you have practiced, right? If not for 10 times, at least for 2 times, so that while presenting, your thoughts are connected, right? Most of the time, what happens when you're presenting anything, we believe we either paste a lot of content on the slide, which is a very common mistake, or we end up not putting anything on the slide, thinking that I'll say, whatever will be there in my mind. So we need to understand that you will have thoughts when you have practiced on that thought delivery, right? You cannot have thought coming and flowing from some book where you can impress your audience with some, one liner and some whole story, or indirectly coming, right? So this is how you can pursue your audience with your presentation, right? So these are small pointers which I have discussed. Now, there are a lot of other pointers also, like how you can create a wonderful presentation so that most of the time people are listening to you because they are impressed with the presentation that you have created. And then there are some tools inside PowerPoint which you can, make use to know more about your audience, to connect with them. Right. So this is what I wanted to share. Right. Now let's see, when it comes to the most important part of a persuasive presentation where you are pursuing someone is thanking your audience. Right. So whenever we believe that, that our job is done, we are ending this thing on a higher note. it's very important to thank your audience. Now, most of the time when you conduct a session for 35-40 minutes, okay, it's you can understand the kind of investment that person has made, okay, by giving you that amount of time. So you have to believe, you have to make them believe that as a presenter, you are thankful to them that they have, given you uh, a very prestigious gift of their time, because you can return anything, but you cannot return time. So when I'm thanking my audience, it's not just for the sake of thank you, like thank you everyone, and see you tomorrow. It can be a thankful way where you really would like to appreciate their skills of learning. Now with this, there is this very famous psychological, hack, and that is, in our world, everyone loves appreciation. As a presenter, you can appreciate your audience for small things. Now it can be you can appreciate your audience for an answer, or you can appreciate your audience for, listening to you properly. You can appreciate your audience for maintaining the decorum, and so that, people might not remember your content, but they will always remember that we were getting regular appreciation. You might have seen, whenever you are visiting a party or a get together in your family, or professional get together, people always starts with appreciation. They can ask, they can tell you that how good you are looking, they can tell you how good your dress is, they can tell an incident like you are looking fabulous in that particular, picture or anything. And the idea is, everyone loves appreciation, right? So if you think from a psychological point of view, those young kids, those jury members, those management people are also human beings. But you cannot directly say that you're looking wonderful in a meeting interview, right? So because that's not allowed. So if you go with this thought process, you have to make sure that this psychological process is being followed everywhere, right? Because no matter, kids also love appreciation. They also want to get rewarded for every small things. Okay. And rewards are not only in the form of, gifts, chocolates. It can be a simple thing like the way they are giving an answer, or you can appreciate any possible thing, right? So thanking your audience for listening to you, for sparing time, is a wonderful way to end your presentation, right? You can put something which is a moral, so that people are waiting for that moral at the end of day. I remember there is always a section in our notice board. Today's moral is this. Today's, famous word of wisdom is this. And the idea is, when you put surprising content in front of your audience, they always want to know more about it. Okay, so in this way, you can put all these information in such a way that your audience is always listening and thinking there will be something new and surprising coming up in the next slide. Let's wait and watch, right? And then of course, for, giving an openness, sense of openness, you can tell them you can contact me. Okay, in fact, you are, in case of you are presenting it in front of an audience which you might be not knowing directly, so you can always show your confidence by sharing your, ways to contact, so that audience feels this person came, and this person came to show something, to share something, and now this person is open for feedback also. This person is open for, kind of positive criticism, like this was good, this was not good, this is something which we can do, learn from your slides, from your presentation, this is something which I would like to suggest you should, make it better. So such kind of uh, ending statements are very important, right? They gives you a sense of positiveness as a presenter. Okay, no matter who is your audience, right? So that's the overall idea. Now coming back to ethos, pathos, and logos. Now these are Greek words. Now what does it mean? Whenever we are curating a content like when I was curating this content, that there were three, four things running in my mind. I don't have to bore my audience. Number one thing, I don't have to go overboard telling something about me and my syndrome, right? That we generally, talk about ourselves. We talk about ourselves so much that people are thinking, okay, if you're good at this, then what should I do? Okay, then what should I do? So we have to keep a balance about this. Now, if you watch someone, commentary or a self introduction, they always go with these three things. In fact, YouTube, creators, people who are writing content, people who are writing blogs, it's not just about presentation. It's about everything that you write. Okay. Even an answer sheet in your exam, you can always put these three things in your answer sheet, right? First thing is credibility. Like if you have done something wonderful, you'll talk about it. Like in a YouTube video, people always appreciate, okay, I am this, like, and I have done this in my life. Okay, well, how they start so that they can get maximum attention in minimum point of time. But let's understand, people are not listening to you for your achievements. Okay, so that is only the 35% part of your overall content, your credibility. Your credibility is very important because it act as pulling statement to your audience, right? Your audience is listening. So the moment I mention, now this credibility can be something relatable. Like in my introduction, it was mentioned that I am an alumni of Google, of GGS IPU University, right? This is one credibility statement. Now another statement can be I am a Microsoft certified trainer. Now people might think, what is that, right? Then the third statement can be I have done my internship from Indian Oil and Google. Now, what does it mean? It puts you in a frame of mind that the presenter is having, similar kind of experience because of the university. He might have given similar kind of assessment. His, you know, his marks and his reports were also delayed like us. So he can correlate to our environment, right? Because of same university, same technical and cultural fest, everything right same, right? Second thing, this person is something who knows, who knows all about this subject. So if he's saying he's a certified trainer, it means he has done something in that field and maybe we can learn from him, right? And then third thing, when I say that I have experience of internship from Indian Oil and Google, so now people will start thinking how to get that. Let me understand how I can know more about that internship, how to get an internship in a public sector, how to get internship in a Fortune 500 company. So that is how you build a credibility, right? Now, when you are done with the credibility part, okay, now Aristotle's mentioned these three things. Now, when I say Aristotle, I am bringing the credibility of Aristotle. I'm not saying this is my pointers. I'm saying that the famous philosopher of all time, Aristotle mentioned these three things. So what comes? The idea is with these three things, there comes the word of wisdom of Aristotle, right? Now, this is credibility, how you bring credibility to your content, to your personality, to your thought process. It's very important to build credibility, right? If you're not bringing credibility, no one will listen to you. People will ignore you right from your first 5 minutes, right? Second thing is, you have to show emotions. You might have seen a lot of daily soaps, a lot of uh, competitions, singing competitions, skill competition, they always show emotions, right? Judges started crying in front of audience, then they show something in front of, family background, which is full of emotions, right? There is a very new show which is by the name of Shark Tank. Anyone who is aware of this show, Shark Tank? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So
Yes,
can
sir.
you tell me what is the emotional part of that Shark Tank show?
So maybe
Sir, may
belonging
I
to a
add?
team.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Anyone can, maybe what?
So maybe belonging to a city.
I'll show you the credibility part. So the credibility part is whenever you watch a Shark Tank video, they always introduce judges with their achievements. Have you seen that?
Yes, sir.
He is founder of this
Yes,
company
sir.
and this company has done, you know why they're doing it? Because they want to bring credibility. That when you are watching a judge, that judge is not just a singer and a music director. He has done something phenomenal in the field. And most of the time, those judges also justify their skills with their credibility. Like that, there is a very famous judge in Delhiite. He's from Delhi. Anyone who knows that, if you have
Ashneer.
seen that, founder of Bharat Pay,
Yeah,
right?
Ashneer
Sir,
sir.
So
Ashneer Jogan.
Ashneer, yes. So if
Yes,
you
sir.
talk
The
about
founder
Ashneer,
of
he
Bharat
put lot of importance on credibility and logic. He shows less importance on emotions, right? So you can take any example. You can take example of KBC. You can take example of any singing competition, or you can take example of any politician's speech also. People will always put credibility with the help of facts, right? With the help of all these things. Now, second part is the most important part in your content delivery. Now that content can be anything. It can be a WhatsApp message. It can be a answer to a question. It can be a content on a slide. It can be an article on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it is. You know, these three things applies to everything which can be written, which can be, you can share it, you can speak it, and you can share it to other person. These are rules of communication, right? Emotional, percentage. So just like our intelligent question, we call it IQ. We have something which is known as emotional quotient, okay, which is known as EQ. Now, in case of audience, people with good IQ also have a lot of affection for EQ. Now, when I say EQ, emotional quotient, it means if you can bring a sense of emotions. Now that emotions can be, suppose I'm getting late, and now as a presenter who is already late, I'm again and again mentioning, uh, I'm really sorry, or maybe, I got late because of this. So as a presenter, what I'm doing, maybe I'm I'm doing apology to my audience, but in a way, I just want to make my audience understand that this is right now my emotions which I'm going through it, right? So sometimes when we are talking about science, sometimes when we are talking about civics, sometimes when we are talking about mathematics, we can connect with that emotions so that people are carried away with what we are talking about. Right. Now that emotional thing can be a journey. That emotional thing can be something related to the content itself. Right. So I believe I'll show you one example. Recently, I conducted an online exam for a MCA kid in Pune. And after completing that exam, that kid, that participant was mentioning my name in the LinkedIn status. And for mentioning it, he started with a very short story. When I was a kid, I was always planning to get to know more about security. I was fascinated about security. When I was 12, I have done this. When I was 16, I have done this. And one day I came to know about a workshop which is based on security, and this is how I enrolled, and I cleared Microsoft certification on security, and now I'm Microsoft certified. So, the whole thing was, along with credibility, he was bringing lot of emotions by telling people he always dreamed of having a security certificate or security knowledge, and now he wants to thank me. So as a listener, as a reader, my first impression was, forget about the security certification. This content is worth relatable because of two things. It has a lot of emotions and it has my name on it. So I can easily connect with it. Right. So most of the time, and I've seen it personally, if you write an answer to a question with credibility, with emotions, and with logic, the chances are you will always score more, right? You can take an example of any competitive exam. Let's take an example of the most competitive exam in India. Anyone who knows what is the most competitive exam in India?
UPSC, IAS
UPSC.
exam.
Let's take an example of
IIT.
UPSC, right? Or let's take an example where you can write things, right? In MCQ questions, you cannot write things. Okay, so people who are good at writing, the only skill they possess, they somehow know how to mix credibility, emotions, and logic into your answer. People who are good at storytelling, people who are good presenter, people who are good at, putting their ideas in debate, they always know how to get start with a credibility thing, how to, mix emotions into it, and how to get logic from that. Right. So if you are going with your first presentation and you want that your audience should be mesmerized with the way you are saying your words, you have to make a balance of credibility, emotions, and logic. Right. And then you can frame a lot of stuff in between. Right. So that is a power of emotions. Now it can be a day-to-day experience. It can be a something from a from a movie, okay, or it can be something which which is worth engaging, right? Most of the time, national icons, right? So let's say if I talk about a simple, if we are talking about dedication, determination, and patience. So I'll take up an example of most famous cricketer of all time. Any guesses? Most famous cricketer of all time.
Virat Kohli.
Let's talk about Virat Kohli,
Sachin
right?
Tendulkar.
Let's talk about Sachin Tendulkar, right? Any example, you take an example of anyone, right? So if I talk about Virat Kohli, there is always an emotional side to Virat Kohli, right? Anyone knows what is the biggest emotions into Virat Kohli life? So, when he was preparing, and it's a common thing for both Virat Kohli and Sachin. So there was a situation in their life when they were playing for the country, and at the same time, their family members were hospitalized. So they were having this situation, either they will go for playing cricket. Playing is a very artistic game, right? You cannot play by having your mind in a hospital. You cannot think of playing when your family members are fighting for their life. Okay, but when it comes to dedication, determination, and patience, they played, and they played for the pride of the country. So whenever we talk about such kind of scenarios, it brings lot of emotions. And that is why you might have seen whenever India is winning, there is lot of emotions among people. So that is the reason, if you have a good emotional connect, you can easily connect with your audience. So when your audience, and when you're connected with your audience, whatever you will say, you say, always go with a blue color in the background. People will blindly follow that. By the way, there is a scientific rule for using blue color also. Okay, all these colors have scientific rules. Okay, so this is how you bring emotions, right? Recently, whenever a very famous singer passed away, and after that, lot of people are using her voice, her movies, and because people get emotional whenever they listen to someone passing away. So we have to be very cautious whenever we are keeping emotions, because we cannot put our audience into a journey of too much of emotions, that people are now carried away with the emotions. They don't care about what you were presenting. They don't care about what was the idea. All they are thinking is, this is such an emotional story. Let me read more about it. Right. So there is always a balance, and we have to make a balance of all these things. So you can take up an example of uh, any story from famous personalities. You can take up an example of your own stories. It should be worth engaging in terms of emotions. You cannot be flat. You cannot be brutal. You cannot be, for the sake of professional, you cannot deny that your audience is also a human being. You have to show your emotional side. And if you're good at showing it, trust me, your presentation will always be easy to follow. People will remember it not at that time, but for years to come, they will remember there was this session, there was an online session where I was learning all these things with my, fellow members. And then there comes the last part, which is a logic part. Logic, uh, logic is something which sometimes is very important for someone to follow a particular path. Let's take an example. Okay, so if I want to explain it to everyone that it is very important to wake up early in the morning, when you are presenting and or when you are delivering an online presentation. So what are the logics for it? Okay, because 99% of the time our brain purely works on logic. That's why you can see a brain image here, right? And by the way, there are two parts of brain. One is artistic and one is scientific in nature, right? And as a personality, some people are artistic in nature, some people are scientific in nature, right? They follow more logic. Now I consider myself as a more logical person. Now that does not mean I don't have emotions. That does not mean I lack emotions, but most of the time my decisions are based on some logic. All right. So when you give a logic to your brain, when you give a logic to your audience, they somehow believing the fact that this is a reason this is happening. Okay, now let me give you a very good reason why you should wake up early in the morning when you are going for the big presentation of your life. Now, the reason is whenever you're going for a big presentation, there is a kind of nervous energy in us. And when we wake up early in the morning, we can do a lot of shadow practice. We can do a lot of shadow practice. We can think about our introduction. We can think about how we will be starting. We can have a light breakfast and then we can go on the dice to present it in front of everyone. Right. The reason is when you wake up early, you keep everything planned throughout your presentation. And when you have a plan, a man with a plan can conquer every possible thing, no matter how good his skills or her skills are. Okay, so that is the importance of logic. And whenever I'm saying anything like your brain has two parts, so this is again a logical thing. Okay, sometimes people believe in logics and that is why they follow numerology, right? That is why they follow. So if I say people who are born in December, okay, anyone who is born in December,
Yes,
anyone?
sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, people who are born in December, they are, they consider themselves as artistic person. Now, why I'm giving you this statement, because I'm giving you a logic that if you're born in December, you might consider yourself an artistic person. Now, what does it mean? You might enjoy, drawing. You might enjoy writing. You might enjoy talking to people. So trust me, if I'm giving this statement, most of the people, enjoy talking to people, right? Because that's how your, sense of accomplishment goes over and over, right? So when you give a logical statement like this, okay, that if you score, average, there is a good possibility you will be successful in your life, right? If you work, throughout the day. Okay, let's say I was going through this short video, motivational video, and the video was all about how can I achieve my dreams, right? And the starting of that video was, don't do anything big. If you want to achieve, if you want to accomplish something in your life, just start by making your bed first. Okay. And I was laughing at my own, thought process, how you can achieve big milestone by just making your bed, right? You wake up early and you put your pillows in one side, you put your bed sheets in one side and you clean your bed. What is a point? What is a motivation? And then I realized the only logic to that exercise is when you wake up, you make your bed, you put everything arranged. That's how you bring a logic to your mind that the task one of my day is complete. And when you say this to your mind logically by showing it that my task one is complete, your brain gives you a sense of accomplishment. Your brain says, OK, fine, wonderful. You have done wonderful job, no matter how small it is. And when you start your day on a positive note, that's how you go one by achieving and planning and completing all the tasks. Right. So it is very important to have a logic, not only for your audience, but also for your presentation as a presenter mind also. Right. Now let's take an example. There is a logic for this background color. There is a logic for this image. There is a logic. I'm not using too much of words. What is that logic? The logic is I don't want, yeah, my audience to go read things. I want them to listen to me. Right. So there is a logic. I'm wearing this, blazer because I don't want to give a presentation wearing a t-shirt or, uh, disabling my webcam. So that person is unable to understand who is the person, who is the presenter. Right. So that's how your logic helps you in bringing why you are doing this. What is the reason behind that? And when you mix your content with logic, emotions, and credibility, your content becomes something which everybody wants to know from where you have written, what are the content you are referring to. And that's a simple mix, right? Simple mix of everything. OK, so this is the most important part which everyone can understand. As a student teacher, it's your moral responsibility to talk about your credibility, why, okay, and to talk about content which is emotional for students. The emotions is the most important thing, okay, and for people who are mature enough, like they can be professionals, they can be faculties, people with vast amount of experience, they generally believe to go with logic. Okay, so that's how we curate our content, right? So again, so we were talking about ethos, logos, and pathos. This is how this image goes. Anyone who remember this image? Have you seen this image anywhere?
Sir, in the beginning of the presentation.
Yeah, of course, in the
Yes, sir.
beginning of the presentation, I was showing you this image, but have you seen this triangle, this colorful triangle somewhere else? Any other place?
So,
Very
not
not.
the
Logo of Drive.
Logo of Drive,
yeah.
wonderful. So this is just similar to logo of Drive. So all these three things are, are connected to each other. And you have to make sure that these three things are there in your content, right? So that's how that's how we create and curate wonderful content. And once you are done with this, so you can always, as a presenter, once you are done with your presentation, you want to conclude this. OK, so let me conclude this whole thing. Right. So for creating a wonderful, uh, you know, uh, presentation where I am pursuing people, when I'm putting my thoughts, what is the first rule? Anyone who remembers what is the first rule? Who remembers the first rule? Yes.
So story.
Agenda.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Storytelling.
Agenda.
sir, agenda. Sir,
OK, so number
agenda.
one, first thing is agenda should be there, right? Those who were missing out, now you can note it down. Or in fact, I can note it down for you also, right? After this. So number one thing is having an agenda for the presentation. It's the most important part. Now, once you discuss the agenda, there comes the second part. And second part is, how many of you remember?
Sir,
Second.
connection with the audience by question answer or
Yeah, okay. So second part is information gathering. How much research you have done, right? Appropriate information, customizing your information, custom tailoring your information according to audience. So this is the second part, right? Third part is, yes, who was someone was saying?
So
the
storytelling.
storytelling.
Storytelling, right? Third part is storytelling, right? Can anyone write these words in the chat? or should I write it with the help of OneNote? Okay, I'll do that later, right? So third part is storytelling. Okay, now when you're telling a story to your audience, sometimes your audience might start from point A and you are moving them to point B, but they are flown to point C. Example, so if I'm telling you a story, and I'm talking about Uttarakhand is the best place you can spend your time with your family. And someone from Uttarakhand suddenly remembers, okay, I am missing my home. I am missing my home cooked food. I'm missing, that kind of divinity in Himalayas. So let's go to that. So don't do that. Don't do such kind of thing. And if you want that in between storytelling, your audience is not flowing from point A to point C, ask questions, make sure that your audience is connected to you. So that's basically in between the same point, right? And after storytelling, asking questions, we have next point, which is
Appropriate body language.
appropriate body language is the next important thing. So for a student teacher, showing an appropriate body language becomes the most important part, because people generally have a tendency that you are a student teacher. So you are a kind of a student and you are a newcomer into this environment, right? There is a very less possibility that people will judge my body language, because whenever I introduce myself, I always say that I have spent decade into education. I've been to a lot of seminars. I've been to seminars where thousands of students are listening to me, and that's how I bring a sense of credibility. But again, for a student teacher who is new, for a student teacher, they have a kind of uh, they're doing things for the first time. Your body language can create a lot of difference. And the best part about army students is you are blessed with a very good body language, right? You know how to dress up, you know how to wake up early, you know how to most of the things you are always aware of. You know how to adjust to a situation, because most of you have done schooling from a different city, college from a different city, and now doing your professional course from a altogether different environment. So being an army kid, it's very easy for you to understand the scenario. So again, but that does not mean you are having the best of body language among the students. You go to any top-notch, institutions, you will find people with better body language, because they are, learning continuously, right? So having appropriate body language is must. And when I say body language, I'm not talking about the way you dress up. I'm talking about your voice modulation, your, choice of words, your the way you are putting up and framing your sentences while speaking. That's how your body language is. And after body language, what is the next thing?
The strong finish.
Strong finish, right? So when you finish strong, people always remember how you finished. They don't remember what was the content. Example, you'll always see the most important part in a movie is on the end. So people remember what happened in the end. You go to any famous movie, you talk about DDLJ, you talk about any famous movie, take any example, Harry Potter series, or you take an example of Spider-Man. People always remember what happened in last. You talk about example of Avengers. If you have seen that Avengers, when Captain America, takes up that hammer, right? People always think about that. In fact, whenever I want to, feel that vibe of Avengers, I always go to YouTube and I watch that last 15 minutes of Avengers. Okay, or you take any example. So always finish with the best content that you have curated, with the best, body language that you can show. Finish best, because that is what it matters, right? So it can be an interview where you are presenting your thoughts. It can be among students. It can be among peer members, or it can be, as simple as recording a YouTube video. Think about it. And after this statement, you have the universal rule by Aristotle, where he talked about ethos, pathos, and logos, and credibility, emotions, and logic. So that's how you go with this, right? And at the last, sometimes if situation allows, you can go with something which is this. Let me show you. So this is your, you know, what is this? Anyone who can share what I'm doing with this? Something about the speaker. If there is no introduction provided by anyone, or if you are the only one who is presenting it, you can always share that. So that's basically, let me show you if I have access to that. Right. So this is how it goes. Right. So this is my, so when I present this. Okay. So, I can share this image where I am presenting this among audience, right? So this is one way where I can, thank everyone for their valuable time, for their support, for listening to a user, and you can show them a small picture of yourself or your company or your institution, because this picture plays a very important role in everyone's mind, right? So this is one thing. So when you put a picture, although I am, side by side sitting, but people always appreciate visuals compared to text. So here I'm talking about me, my name, my designation, my company, and of course, all the skill set that I have, that I have curated over a period of time. So that's how I can, thank everyone. OK, so this is one way which, if there is no person who is, introducing you, you can always show them. And maybe in this slide, you can put a email where people can contact you. You can tell them this is my email, my name dot surname @knowledgepro.com. Right. So this is how you can present it. OK, now, any questions, anything which you want to ask, we can take up that also. So what do you think is the most important mix? OK, so let's take that also. OK, I'm sure my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if you have any questions and any doubts, we can take up that and we can go with those questions, right?
Yes, Kanika beta, please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. Sir, my doubt is that, sir, like, I faced this problem while doing that school internship also, that I do want the students to listen to me while the presentation is on. I do want them to listen to me. So in my head also, I'll try to just put pictures. But on the other hand, I also know that students don't usually have that sort of concentration level. So then I get confused that, okay, maybe I should put the important points on the PPT, so that if they are taking screenshots or whatever, so at least that information will get in their head somehow. So what, I am always confused that should I put pictures or text? So that's my doubt, sir.
OK, let me appreciate you first for asking the most important thing. And what's your name? Your name is Pooja.
Sir, Kanika.
Kanika, sorry. So, this is the most common scenario, and you have to deal with it with a frame of mind that this is a most common scenario and there is a solution for that. Now, how to get attention of a student? Now, let me ask you some series of questions. OK, so Kanika, why students are listening to you? Can you answer this in one word or in one line?
Because they're interested in the topic.
OK, let's say we want their interest, right? Now, how can you get interest of a student? So interest is directly related to something which is, something which is relatable, right? Now, it is very important to understand. Yeah. Yes, someone was saying something.
So we can, which is relatable as well as which is attractive to them.
OK, now what we do for making our content relatable, generally we try to put pictures. This is what you were doing, right? or we try to put text. But trust me, when I am presenting, let me take up an example on me. When I'm presenting the slide, are you there for listening to me or you are there for those slides? My question is, suppose if I don't present here, if I just mail the slide to everyone, there was no one-to-one or there is no one-to-many communication going on. The slide was there. I was sitting like this and I was playing it. So what do you think is the most important thing? Is it the slide, the content, or the presenter? A
So,
simple question.
presenter.
The
So,
presenter.
so what is my personal observation? And this is my personal observation, that slide is just a medium. And that is the reason I have stopped using slide. I remember the last time I created a slide was around 6 months back. I have started using this OneNote file. There is a reason for it because I don't want my audience to just think of slide and content and images. Because and in case of students, if you want to make it relatable, sometimes a deep pause where you ask your student to listen to you. Okay, I remember there was one of my faculty in my school days. They used to draw one dot on blackboard, and that was a very efficient thing. And after making that dot, that faculty was just standing for next 30 seconds. And within next 30 seconds, everyone was feeling something bad, something worse, something not good has been done. And the only thing was we want attention. Okay, let me tell you the easiest way to get an attention in a slideshow environment is by showing them a blank slide. Okay, and that blank slide can be a white background or a black background. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is it's not only if you want to relate to the audience, you can relate to them by asking a question. You can relate to them by sharing something, light, okay, in form of a short story, or you can relate to them by, starting up something which is connected to your topic, right? And then maybe you can think in terms of pictures and text and slide, because, it's a student mindset. Students will have a, focus time period of maximum 10 to 15 minutes. After 10 to 15 minutes, it's your responsibility to come up with something where maximum people are listening to you. So right now I am solving a problem. That's why you are listening to me. If I'm not solving a problem, if you are not finding this talk relatable, you will not listen to me. Right. And this happens with people who are very young. This happens with people who are from different domain. Right. So to keep your audience interested, to make them to make them feel that this is a relatable content, do not overlay or do not just depends on pictures and text. Find something, what is the psychology of a student. Are they will they be connected to something very funny? Will they be connected to something which is in the form of short stories? Will they be connected when you say less words? Okay, and people are listening to you cautiously. Okay, because when we talk a lot, I guess around 15 to 30 words per minute is an appropriate choice. And sometimes out of an anxiety, we talk a lot so that multiple people can listen to us, so that people are thinking that okay, he or she is a very good presenter. No, we don't have to do that. So these are some of the small things. And then there are a lot of other things. So what do you think? And it's an open question to everyone. What do you think can be made, to get attentions of a student? Apart from that, anyone who would like to share their views on it? So
Sir,
this is
may
a
I?
common question. Yeah.
Sir, when we present and to get attention of the student, we should also create that what are the knowledge is given in the book. We can give more knowledge beyond books. Okay,
Okay. So
because they are they always they get something new with the
yes.
chapter that we can do.
Okay. So One way is I always do this thing, right? So I always tell them what will happen at the end of session. Very common small trick. So what will at the end of session? We always keep our audience in suspense. So when I say at the end of session there is a surprise for everyone, and that surprise need not to be a chocolate or a gift. That surprise can be as simple as a small quiz. That surprise can be as simple as a funny activity. Okay, that surprise can be, I remember there was I visited this campus, engineering campus, very famous engineering campus in, Krishna Institute in Muradnagar somewhere, right? And there was a singer who was a very famous singer in the first year or second year of engineering. And everybody was saying, his name is this and he's a very famous singer. Now he has become a singer. Okay, so an engineer turned singer, right? So everyone was talking about, he sings really well. Okay. And for me, the only motive of calling that person and singing a song was I want to create something relatable with the audience. Okay. So when you go out of your comfort zone, you do some act so that people are listening to it. Okay. So it can be anything, or you can start by a very short story. There is a very less chances that people will ignore your story. Okay. And that story can be anything. Let's take an example. I am Kanika, which topics you take? Is it science or which topic? Is it
So
English
science and
language?
maths. Science and maths.
Science and maths. Let's talk about, and that's why in our movies also, when it comes to story for maths, we can talk about any famous personality life, right? Like in case of mathematics, who are the famous personalities in mathematics?
So Ramanujan.
Wonderful. So let's say, is it correct? Ramanujan. Is it JN or is it JM?
So N.
N. Right. Now, so I can take up an example, and there is a very famous movie also based on his life. Okay. So I can take up an example from his life and how he started and what was the thing in only 2 minutes, 120 seconds, not more than that. Okay. And then we can talk about something which is phenomenal in the field. Okay. This is one thing. Okay. Or students get carried away, and I have done this thing a lot of times. Students get carried away with real world examples. Now, real world examples like this. So yesterday I was explaining a very difficult functionality in Excel, and I was knowing that my audience is finding it difficult to digest. So what I've done, I've taken up an example like, so if I am planning for a birthday party. Now everyone can relate to it. If I'm planning for a birthday party, or let's say if I take up an example, okay. So let me take up an example from an audience. Let's say if Shubham, are you there?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So if I'm taking up an example now, if Shubham is planning for a birthday party. So Shubham, can you tell us on which day your birthday comes?
The 24th of May.
24th of May. Okay. You know what is happening now? People who are connected to Shubham, and everyone, because they know Shubham is classmate, right? So now this example which comes next, this topic which come next, which is related to this. So if Shubham is standing on point A, and if someone he's moving 20° east, 20° west, 20° north, so find the position of Shubham. So you know what happens when you put real world examples, people can easily connect to your topics. Okay, so these are some of the common tricks. And the most important thing is, as a presenter, you have to try every possible way to get attention. Now, it does not mean that we have to just get an attention, but you can talk about anyone. Okay. Sometimes when you talk more about people who have done wonderful in their life, there is a sense of negative feeling among students because they know I cannot be Sachin Tendulkar. They know I cannot be Virat Kohli, but you can talk about something which is worth motivating and which is something which is relatable, right? So these are some of the pointers. So I'm sure this answers your questions, Kanika.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So this is a very common thing among, uh, you know, presenters, right? So any other questions? Any other thing? Any doubt? Okay, in PowerPoint, yes. Yes, somebody was asking something. No doubts, no questions.
Yes, Shubham, I hope you want to ask something.
No, ma'am. I was saying no doubt, ma'am. अभी तक
Okay,
तो
okay,
ठीक है.
Okay.
fine. So, when you go to PowerPoint, let me open this because most of our presentations are either done on PowerPoint or they are done on Google Slides, right? So when you go to PowerPoint, you have a lot of tools also which you can use. And for using these tools, you don't have to do much because most of the things are there for solving this issue only, getting the attention, right? So if I open PowerPoint right now, okay. So first thing that PowerPoint solves is it gives you wonderful themes. If you want more themes, you can download them as per the requirement. Okay. So sometimes in front of students, you should always go with a particular theme, right? Now, if I select a particular theme, let's say if I'm presenting something on maths, right? So my presentation theme can correlate to the environment of maths, right? What I'm presenting, how I'm presenting, right? After this, inside our slideshow, when you're presenting, there's an option of rehearsing and then inside presenting also. Let me show you from beginning. Now, here while presenting, I can make use of all these things. Is it visible? Highlighter, pen, laser.
Yes.
Okay, so these are the things which I can easily use to get maximum of attention. No matter how good you are in drawing, but you can always talk about, so this is my title. This is how I would be taking up. So this is point number 1. Okay, I can't draw here, but this is point number 2. And then we are talking about 3. Okay, so and then we'll start from this point and we'll move to next point. So in this way, you can talk about all these things and these small things, be it a laser or a highlighter. Okay, so these things make your slideshow presentation engaging. Okay, so that your audience will not get an idea that you are just reading from the slides. You are not doing anything. And this shows that you are also comfortable with the tool because sometimes people get impressed with the content. Sometimes people get impressed with their delivery and sometimes they get impressed with the way you are using a tool. They will get an impression. OK, I was not knowing it, how it can be done. Right. Or after this, then you have something which is related to small things like how I can, there is an option of black screen, white screen. So let's say if I'm discussing something really important, so what I can do, I can make my screen white. So what is happening? Nobody knows what is happening. Nobody knows what went wrong. So now everyone is thinking what is this going on. So it generally happens when you're presenting via projector in a classroom environment. You can always go with that. Go white, go black, so that people are always guessing what is happening, right? And then you have options related to, let me show you this. Some of the options which are there inside slideshow creation only. Okay, like let me show you from presenter. Okay. Okay, so when you present from a projector, so you have a different, altogether different kind of uh, screen. Let me check if use presenter view. Okay, so this is our presenter view. Okay, can you see the presenter view? So as a presenter
Yes, sir.
view, now this is only possible when you're presenting on a projector, right? Or you have two screens. I have two screens with me. So I generally use two screens. So if I have two screens, I can have this view on one screen. Now, can you see an option of notes here? So while discussing about this, I can have notes here. I can make them increase their font to make it visible. Then there is something which I can, show it in the form of highlighter, pen. All these options are there. OK, then I can use zoom in feature also. This will zoom in and this will zoom out. OK, there's this option of black and unblack things. So these options are only visible to the presenter. And for keeping track of time, can you see the time? Like how much
Yes,
time
sir.
has spent. So this is one way of, understanding that do not spend too much time on a slide. OK, spend only 1.5, 2 minutes according to the audience understanding. And then you can go to uh, different thing. You can end it, swap presenter view, slideshow, or whatever you want. You can go with this all things. If you go to taskbar, so you will have a taskbar. You can use that also, right? So this is something which there are these number of shortcuts which are there, right? While presenting it. So the slideshow menu talks about how you want to curate your slideshow. OK, so this is how you can go with it. In Office 2019 onwards, if you go to 2019, like I'm using a 2021, the latest Office. So in 2019 onwards, if you go to animation and if you go to transition, right? So let me show you what is new inside this. So when I go to animation, there are certain new animations, but if I insert something which is, let me show you what I can, insert here. Let's go to shapes. We have an option of, inserting 3D models also. And those 3D models have different kind of, animations altogether, right? They are only visible when you insert a 3D model. OK, so in 2019, it is possible. And do not go with such animations, such transitions, which are, which are very funny, so that people are only watching your transitions. They are not watching to your content. Make it simple way so that they can relate to it. OK, they are finding it. Do not use, sound which are annoying. Like there is a sound like this. Let me show you. I'm sure this is audible. Is it audible or should I share my, let me share my or system audio first. So when I share again, Yeah. So let me show you. Just see what happens when you go with this sound. So don't go
Yes,
with
sir.
sound like this, which is annoying or anything like this. Okay. Follow something which where people are, not finding it distractible. Okay. It can be simple things which you can follow, right? So these are some of the options which are there. There are a lot of options. We have limited time. So I'm just telling you the most common options which we can get, right? So if you start from home, okay, you can always find out things inside, insert whatever you want to insert. Okay, so let's say you want to show them that your audience can connect with you. So you can always share your email ID. Let's say my email ID is this. Okay, and I can apply to every slide so that it is visible to every slide. Okay, the color should be something which is visible here. Okay, so in this way, we can work it out in such a manner that not only the content is visible, but also the information, the overall objective of that persuasion should be there, right? Like my audience should be persuaded at the end of it, either by my skills in terms of presentation, content curation, or the tools which I'm using, right? So this is the overall idea. Okay, there are a lot of stuff here. If I start from right from the creating slide, you can go with these number of slide size also. Okay, like what happens when you present on a projector or you present on a big screen, we end up selecting the wrong size of a slide. So if you are presenting a banner, I remember I went to this school in Army Public School Dholakua, and there they were using a very big slide because their auditorium is very big, right? So they were using a very big slide which was going ahead of the screen. So probably the only mistake was the banner which they were using was like this. This is a size of banner. So when you present it, this goes in such a way. Okay, so you have to curate your slideshow from a classroom environment to an auditorium environment also. You cannot carry the same slide for classroom to classroom and for auditorium and for slide for your system, online session. So this is how it is done, right? And this is when you go for maximize, your content will be clipped. Can you see? Your right and left content is trimmed down. When you go for ensure, it makes sure, it adjusts according to the size of it, right? So these are some of the common things which are there inside design point of view, you know. So for students, it's always, important to come up with a good user interface, right? Something which is relatable, something will your audience will appreciate. Okay. So, and then we have discussed about some of the options related to transitions. Okay, some common transitions we can have. There are some common transitions. Let me tell you some latest transitions which we have. Okay, and
Fade.
those yeah. Any question? Anyone who is
No sir,
using
comment. Sir, fade ये सब वाले sir.
fade
Basic
is
वाले.
most common. Yes, fade is the most common transition you can have it, right? And whenever you are having transitions, anyone who knows the difference between transitions and animations, what is the difference? Let's see how
Sir,
many of you are aware.
transition slide के लिए होता है for the single slide, and animation we can put in different element which are present in the slide.
Elements. Perfect. So animations are is on object, transition is on slide, right? So you can take up an object here. Let's say if I insert, let's say if I go to picture here from device. Okay, so if I'm creating a slideshow on something like, animal cruelty, right? So let me take up an image. Okay, and I can do a lot of stuff with this image. So when you take up an image, you have a picture folder here. Now you can do changes to the theme of it. Okay. And in fact, if I want to trim down this, there is an option to trim down this also. Can you see this remove background option? So when I select this, remove background and mark areas to remove, mark areas to keep. So let me select this, and these are the areas which I want to keep. These are the areas. So can you see what is happening? Okay, and keep changes. So now what will happen? See, so what I'm trying to say is that you can always go one step beyond with the tool by knowing more about that tool. Right now, generally, this is done in Photoshop. If somebody knows Photoshop, this is done in something, very very high end tool, but you can do it inside PowerPoint if you know that there is an option to remove background. There is an option to correct it. There are artistic effect also. So you can give an artistic effect to your image. I'm not sure if it is looking good, but we can always give an artistic effect. So these are the options related to my images, right? I can work it out with that. Why I'm doing it, why we are doing it. Anyone who can give a valid answer? What will happen if you put if you do a lot of stuff with your images?
Sir, quality.
Of course, you want to differentiate your content. You want to show it to your audience that this is not just a copy pasted content. This is something where I have invested my time and effort. To get that vibe of time and effort investment, you go always one step, ahead, right? And similarly, you can have transparency, all these things. Okay, so you have options where you can curate it with any frame or anything, right? All these options are there. Okay. Now, if you are using multiple images here, okay, so let's take an example. If I'm using this image and this slideshow is on. Okay. Now we can remove this. And now suppose, let's say we are having multiple images here, right? So let's go to picture, this device. Let's take other images. Now this generally happens with your image when you want to, okay, this we need to crop. So we can crop it to a particular shape also. Doesn't look good. So these are the options which are there. Crop to shape, and you can select any shape available for crop. Right now, these are two images, right? Now, if I want to bring them on every page, or if I want to, make them one image like this. So what I can do, I can select the both images and I can go with this option, which is known as group. So when you group them, now it is one image. So you don't have to worry about the positioning now. And when you go to this option, you ungroup them. They are separate images. So, these are small things which are there in your PowerPoint, which can save a lot of time and effort and which can, make your PowerPoint presentation unique. Right. So similar to this. And if I want to animate this, OK, so there's an animation effect which is custom made, right? So let's take an example. This is my custom path animation, and this animation. Now, if you can see this line being drawn, OK, and So wherever you are taking this line trajectory, even if you take that trajectory somewhere else, this will have a same path being followed. So there are a lot of stuff which can be done related to animation also. It's not just about these entry, exit or emphasis based animation. You can define your own animation also. Right? So that's a very brief introduction about transition, animation, and let's say if we have already discussed about slideshow, then if I want to record, let's say I want to record a video, you can do it with the help of PowerPoint. So you can go with recording option. So let me tell you, let's go. So I have to, switch off my webcam in order to record this, or I'll record without webcam, right? So, okay. Okay. So when we are recording this, and you can start by giving a simple introduction. So, hi everyone. Today we'll talk about animal cruelty, why this is a alarming situation in our society. And then you can check for what you have done, right? How well you have recorded this. You can also have a webcam here at any position, just like a normal recording. So when you close this, okay, you will get your content recorded in a form of video. Okay, or you can get it from, either you can paste it on a video, or you can paste it, you can save it as a export to video like this, right? And this gives you an option of full high definition video. So these are some of the tips and tricks which you can try. So when you go with this, create a video, animal cruelty, saving it here. So when you save it, it will be saved. Now here you can see creating video animal cruelty.mp4. And these are your note section. So here you can write anything inside notes, which is visible when you're presenting it. So there is a lot of stuff, okay, which you can do it. You can have link a note from OneNote. You can have comments if multiple people are working. This share option, multiple people can work on one slideshow. They can create their respective slides. You can have, support of language. You can have support of this option, which gives you words. So let's say I want to search out for a word which is synonym for cruelty, right? So I'll write cruelty. And let's search for that. So can you see all those words which are there for cruelty? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Meanness, brutality, spitefulness, vindictiveness. You don't have to search for those words. Just search for it. Okay, in this option, right? And then there is one option which is there in the form of online presentation. So if I want to take a printout, okay, so let's say sometimes you need to share these slides among your audience. So you can always go with Control P and selecting that how many slides you want. You want one slide on a page, you want two slides on a page, okay, or you want two slides along with some option of notes. So let's say this is one slide, this is an area for notes, and you can share it to people in the form of printout, right? There is a very common thing. Let's say if I want any particular image on every slide, I can go to this option, which is in the form of, let's say, uh, okay, so let's go to this option, insert design transition view, and inside view you have slideshow, slide master, right? So when whatever you paste it here on slide master, okay, let's say some picture. We generally paste pictures of organization, companies, right? So let's say if I paste a simple logo, right? Like let's say Microsoft Partner Network. Okay. So if I paste this logo here and that too in this way, right? So what is happening? Let's say if I'm pasting it here, then I'm pasting it on which slide, two content slide, two content layout. Okay. So I'm pasting it on two slides, right? And then if I close this, so the moment I insert a new slide from layout, so can you see title slide and comparison slide has already these images? You go to new slide and I cannot change it from here because it can only be changed when you go to view and slide master. Here it can change. So these are some of the common tips and tricks which you can try from PowerPoint specifically. Same thing is there when you go to Google Slides. Okay. So when I go to Google Slides, or I was using Canva for presenting it. So let's say I want to try slides for work. Okay, I do have a login here, Google Workspace. So I just want to have slides here, right? So let's go to slide. Okay, I need to log in via my Gmail to get this for free. So when I go to this option, so we have, by the way, how many of you have created your, portfolio? I got some of the messages. Okay. So this is the slideshow. So let's say I want to go with a big idea template. And same thing, whatever I'm doing it inside Microsoft PowerPoint, I can do it here, right? I can go with inserting images, text, charts, diagram, all these things, and formatting them, arranging them. There are some tools, voice type notes, speaker notes. It is there inside PowerPoint also. So if I type something like this, welcome to my presentation. I hope everyone is learning something new and shortcuts for using it. So can you see? Is it visible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir, it
Yes,
is.
sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
there are a lot of ways. Sometimes people find it very boring to write presentation. So you don't have to write it. Just go to this option, speak, and it will convert this into your text. Or you can read and you can do vice versa also. Suppose this is already written here and I want to convert it into voice, right? Text to speech. So that option is also there. I just need to check if it is there. It is there inside, PowerPoint online. Like this is dictate option, right? Same thing here. So whatever you will dictate, it will get connected to this. And you can select the language also. So it's English US. So here we'll talk about all the possible ways of connecting to our audience. So this option is not specific to Google. It is there in PowerPoint also. So if you wish to know more about PowerPoint, you need to install PowerPoint or you need to create one Hotmail account. Okay. So let's say this is the same PowerPoint online option. Here I can select wonderful templates, more templates. Okay. I can go with that. And once I'm selecting this template, this option comes on my browser only. So this can be, used in your browser also. Now, can you see the same option?
Yes, sir. Dictation.
Okay, there is something very, interesting in latest PowerPoint online version, and that is, so let's say if I write something here, give me a topic, give me a very difficult topic so that, it is very difficult to get some kind of themes for it. So right now I'm using a designer option. Okay, I'll tell you how this works. Okay, anyone who can give me a very difficult topic for creating slides. You can give me any scientific topic, physics, maths, or whatever you want. English language, physical education. I'll show you some magical part.
So GIS.
The integration.
GIS. By the way, GIS, does it mean that geographical image something? What
Yes,
does
sir.
it mean?
Geographic Information System.
Okay, so GIS, let's say geographical imaging system. Is it imaging or image system?
So it's Geographic Information System.
Okay, geographic information system. Can you see on the right hand side what is happening?
Giving a
Yes, sir.
suggestion according to the topic.
According to the word that I am entering here. And now I am writing about myself, Parth Shukla. Okay. Now see what is happening. According to this word, let me just check. Now, so let's take an example. I selected this theme. Can you see? Is it a valid background?
Yes, sir.
So this is a feature provided by Microsoft PowerPoint online, which is combined with AI. So this artificial suggestion does not stop here. Now, what if I want to insert a new slide, right? So let's say I want to insert a new slide, and whenever the moment I found this, my slide creation time has been reduced to 15 minutes only. And before that, I was, literally worried about what background should I use, where to use this background. Now, can you see more suggestion on this? How I want to, put this. So let's say this is much more appropriate, right? And there's a video, a small video, which gives you a sense like this. Okay. Now, if I show you slideshow from beginning, just check in 1 minute what I have done by just typing a word. Now, can you imagine that in 1 minute you can finalize your slides? So in 15 minutes, you can create 15 slides. Okay, so what are the major content inside GIS? Okay, what do you think is the major content? I'm just giving you 3 slides examples, right? So what do you want to explain inside GIS?
So
What is?
should I suggest?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
So the other three contents which we can discuss in GIS is about the aerial photography, about the GPS.
Okay, and let's go with a new slideshow. GPS. Okay.
Aerial
And
photography.
aerial photography, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, whenever we are going with this, okay, how I want to go ahead with this, right? So, what is GIS? And I want to go with something related to, let's say, background. I want to change the background, okay, to some other places. And inside background, I can suggest what kind of background I want to take. Okay. And whenever we are suggesting this, it takes an input in the form of AI environment. So let's take an example. This is my background, right? You can see all these themes are related to particular, particular palette. Same palette is being followed. Okay. Now, depending upon that information, GPS, it knows what is a GPS. Okay. It shows you slides, images with satellite and aerial photography. Let's see what is that aerial photography mean. So here we have some suggestions on how you can take up this. Okay, so aerial photography, I'm searching it here. And out of that, there is some suggestions which we can take directly. And it goes like this. And what we have created, okay, let me show you that. So in 5 minutes, what we have done, slideshow from beginning, this is what we have done. So when you spend less time on finding the right images and all these things, you can spend more time on content delivery. So knowing a tool can make you a better presenter. This is the moral of, why I'm explaining you PowerPoint. When you are aware of tool, you are a better presenter because you can comfortably use it. You can save your time. Okay. And you can easily switch to the content, right? So, so let's take an example. If I'm presenting this, okay, I went on. I can present this inside Teams also. So this option is also there. You don't have to present it. So let's say, yeah, click on present Teams. Okay. And I can go on open Microsoft Teams. That's a wonderful example when you switch to same tool again and again. So you know what my screen you're about to present. Let me present this. Preparing your slide. And now I can present directly this slideshow inside my Teams environment. So since you all are using also Teams, right, for your day-to-day classes, day-to-day lectures, so I can easily present, I can have full-fledged functionality. Okay, where PowerPoint, Word, Excel, OneNote, Teams, they all are connected and you can take maximum use of it. I guess it is becoming visible. It's not visible yet.
It is visible.
Yeah.
It's
Yes, sir,
visible?
it is visible. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, so there are modes,
Yes.
okay, where I can change the modes here. Okay, I can go on changing it there. And yes, so now if this slide is there, now there are literally different ways I can switch to multiple slides. I guess my image is also visible in front of slide, right? Can you
Uh,
see my image?
no, sir.
It's not
Matlab,
visible.
you are visible, but it is not on slideshow.
Okay, not on slideshow.
Yes, sir.
Right. So we have, different ways. I guess hide presenter view. So if I show you how this is visible to me as a presenter, let me share my screen. If this is visible, if I can show you. Can you see my screen now? It's not visible, right? So I can't share my screen when I'm presenting on Teams. I can share Teams screen, right? But this is visible in the manner right away inside Teams, right? Or we can always resume it. So knowing your tool can be very helpful. You can master this easily. You can switch to it and you can spend more time comfortably. Okay.
Sir,
This
one
also
question is there in the chat box that is this version paid or
so
everyone can use it?
the version which I am using here is part of Office 365 because it is a paid version of my organization, right? I have purchased this for my company, but some of the features are there inside this. When you go to any Hotmail account, you can get free features also. Some features are free. So if I sign in, I'll get some free features. If I sign in from my normal account, which is parthshukla.msit. Okay, password has changed. So I have to log in from my authenticator. So some of the features are paid, like this feature. This particular feature is only available inside paid feature, but most of the options are same. You will get most of the options as same.
Yes, sir, got it.
But there are
Yes.
educational version also available. You can use them also. We have limited time. That's why I can't, explain things inside sheets, slides and PowerPoint, but there are a lot of things which you can, explore inside this. Yes, so that's it from my side. I hope, all those who were listening to me got to know a lot about how to come up with a wonderful presentation content, how you can curate one, how you can present one, and how you can master your tool for ultimately showing that how confident your body language is. So that's it from my side. Thank you everyone for listening
Yes,
to
sir.
me so patiently. It's
Thank you
always a
so much,
pleasure
sir.
coming in front of you.
Sir, even it's a pleasure to us, and listening to you is always a great learning. And I hope your tips to make how to make their presentation in a better way and how they present their content. So this presentation will will helpful to my students to be a effective presenter. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time, and looking forward for more sessions, more learning
Of
sessions
course.
like this, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.